Hey everybody, Sean Holsinger here from Holsinger's Fly Shop again this week with another fly for you. Doing a little different one today, doing a competition style fly. Today's fly is the soft tackle Jiggy Pheasant Tail, okay? It's on a jig style hook and we're tying a pheasant tail using some Cdc feathers for the soft tackle on this. Just have it in the vise here upside down because that's the actual way it will be riding when it's in the water when you're fishing it. It's going to ride with the hook up. One of the reasons why this is so successful in the competition world is because it rides with the hook up, which causes it to bounce across the bottom. The hook catches the bottom lest you lose your hooks less often. So we're just going to go and we're going to get started on this fly. The first thing we're going to use is one thing we want to show off. One of the reasons why we're doing this fly is we just started carrying Hackle hooks. The one I'm using here is an H450 BL. The BL stands for barbless, and this is a size 12. Really like these Hackle hooks, and been tying on them for a little while now, and I really like how they tie. So we're going to start out, like I said, with the size 12. And the bead I'm using here is a gold bead. It is a tungsten slotted bead in this 1/8 size. The 1/8 size fits the size 12 hook really nice. For thread, we're using a 140 denier brown. Turn it the right way for you. 140 denier brown thread. And we're just going to start that on here by the bead and trim off our extra. For the tail, what we're going to use for the tail is a piece of cocktail yarn. Okay, I've been picking at this one here pretty good. Nice thing about the cocktail yarn is it's got that natural barring effect to it. So we're going to use that to do our tail. And I'm going to take just about 7-8 fibers. Not real thick on the tail. And just try to get them all, when you pull them off there, try to get them all the same length. So it makes a nice even tail. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that up to the hook and make it about a little bit shorter than the length of what the fly is going to be. And we're just going to tie this down, keeping it on top while we tie it down. Okay, now with these competition hooks, they have a pretty big bend to them. And what I do, I try to wrap it down there. Sometimes, I'm not too bad there. Sometimes my my tail will tend to bend down around the hook. And to combat that, to keep it from doing that, what I'll do is I'll get back here and I'll just put a wrap or two underneath the tail. And that holds it up, so it doesn't wrap down around the bend of the hook there like that. Alright. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of wire on. The wire I'm using is a small gold ultra wire. And I'm just going to tear a piece off over there, a couple inches long. Like I said, I'm going to be tying a couple new flies here. I'm going to start to lean towards the competition fly here for a little while. They seem to be real popular, so I'm going to give you a couple options that you can tie competition style flies with. And, you know, a lot of guys like to tie pheasant tail, so this is a great pheasant tail option for you. Alright, next thing we're going to put on is the pheasant tail. And we're just going to use one of the center feathers out of the tail, and again about about 6 or 7 fibers there will be fine, and try to straighten them up, get all the tips the same length, and then we're just going to tie that down on top, and we're going to tie that right back to the beginning of the tail. Trim off our tips here. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do The pheasant tail doesn't build up a whole lot of body, so I'm going to build up a little bit of body. This is a size 12, so I'm just going to get a little bit of thickness to it here. Not much, but a little bit. Okay, and then I'm just going to take pheasant tail. I've got some of those a little bit loose and they broke off, so I'm just going to take it. I'm going to wrap my pheasant tail up the shank of the hook here. Alright, wrap it up there towards the bead, and we're going to tie it off. And trim off our extra. Okay, now we're going to counter wrap this, our gold wire. We're going to wrap the opposite way we just wrapped the pheasant tail. And I'm going to make a nice gold rib here. We'll just wrap this the whole way up. Okay, now the next thing in the original pattern, it calls for a peacock bronze color dubbing, and that's kind of hard to find, and I found a pretty close imitation to that. There we go. Give me a little fight there. Pretty close imitation to the peacock bronze is the emergence dubbing from Nature Spirit in the brown stonefly. The only difference really is in this peacock bronze there's a tad bit of green in it, and you can add some green to this if you have it. I don't really think it makes a difference. I'm just going to put a little bit of it on. I'm going to wax my thread a little bit. Put some of this emergence dubbing on. And I don't want to go too thick. I just want to build a little ball there. Alright, put that on just to get it a little bit thicker than the peacock, or the pheasant tail, I should say. Okay, and the last thing we're going to put on is we're going to put on a Cdc feather. And the Cdc I'm using here is cinnamon color. And what we're going to do is we're going to tie this in and we're going to palmer it in. I like palmering this in rather than putting it in a clamp and doing it that way. Just you get a little bit longer fibers. So I'm just going to take and pull the tips back and then tie it in by the tip there. And I go back a little bit because it's a pretty it's not a really strong fibered feather. The center shaft isn't. And then I'm going to put that in my hackle pliers. I'm going to spin this around. Oops, see what I mean? It's not really strong. So we're going to go ahead and give that another tie down here. Make her a little tighter this time. Okay, now we're going to wrap this on here, and as I'm wrapping, I'm going to pull the fibers back so it lays back, and try not to trap down the last wrap. By pulling them back like that will help. Alright, going to get about two wraps on there will be about good, and then we're going to tie it off. The CDC will make a really buggy effect in the water. You get a lot of motion out of the CDC. And just going to get that tied off, make a nice tight little collar here. And we're going to whip finish it off. And this is actually very simple. One of the things about the competition flies is a lot of them are really actually pretty simple to tie, and you know, you want to have a bunch of them in your box if you're out fishing, And this is a pretty simple, easy one to tie. So this fits right into that package. Like I said, it's going to ride like this in the water, so I'll show it to you that way. Those fibers are a hair long, but when it gets in the water, it'll all take that on and give it a nice effect in the water. So give this fly a try. Like I said, I'm going to be showing off a couple more patterns here coming up using these Hackle hooks. We're really excited to be carrying them in the shop. And I'm going to show you some other competition patterns. I think I'm probably going to start a competition fly category on my YouTube page. So thanks for watching. Like I said, you can get all this stuff to tie this fly on our website at holsingersflyshop.com. Check us out there and see you again next week.